He just wanted to share his lunch with a sad stranger on a park bench. He didn't know that man was a billionaire, grieving the loss of his only son. And what started as half a sandwich became the moment that saved 2 lives. Welcome to Hearts and Billions, where the rich meet the broken, and one moment changes everything. Love, loss, redemption, all in one story. Subscribe to feel every heartbeat. Please kindly take me to 1,000 subscribers. It was the same old bench, faded green paint peeling at the corners, rusty bolts anchoring it to the cracked pavement. Set under a large oak tree in Westbrook Park, it was nothing special to anyone, except Liam. Every day after school, 8-year-old Liam walked a little out of his way to sit on that bench. His backpack bounced behind him, and his lunchbox, blue with cartoon rockets, swung from his hand. He always saved part of his lunch to enjoy in peace beneath the shade. His mom worked late, and the bench felt like a second home, a quiet place where time slowed down. But today, something was different. As he rounded the corner, he saw someone already sitting on his bench. A man. He sat hunched over, elbows on knees, face obscured by the hood of a dark sweatshirt. His jeans were torn at the hem, and his shoes, though expensive ones, were caked in city grime. He didn't move, didn't even notice Liam approaching. Liam slowed his steps. Other adults passed the man without a glance. Some gave him wide berths. One lady pulled her child a little closer, whispering something under her breath. Liam stood a few feet away, unsure. The bench wasn't his, technically, but it was his. The stranger hadn't noticed him, still frozen like a statue. Liam's stomach rumbled. He could leave, but he didn't. Instead, he stepped forward, clutching his lunchbox a little tighter, and sat down slowly at the far end of the bench. He didn't look at the man, didn't speak, just opened a box with a soft click and pulled out a peanut butter sandwich, slightly squished from his backpack. For a minute there was just silence and chewing. Then Liam peeked sideways. The man's shoulders rose and fell. He looked like he hadn't moved in hours. Something about him felt heavy, like he was carrying something invisible that weighed more than the world. Liam looked down at his sandwich. He had 2 halves. He bit into one, then glanced again. The man still hadn't moved. So Liam did something that to him felt simple. He held out the other half. The man didn't respond at first, so Liam cleared his throat gently. I think you need this more than me." The man finally turned his head, just slightly, and Liam saw his face. His eyes were red. Not angry red, but the kind that comes from nights, with no sleep and days without hope. Stubble lined his jaw. His lips parted, but no words came out. He just stared at the sandwich in the boy's hand. "It's peanut butter," Liam said. "Not crunchy, sorry." The man took it, not like someone reaching for food, but like someone receiving a lifeline. He didn't say thank you, not yet. He just held the sandwich in his lap, staring at it like it might vanish. And beside him, Liam kept eating. No cameras, no questions, no expectations. Just a boy on a bench, and a man who wasn't ready to say it yet, but had just been seen for the first time in a very, very long time. The next day, Liam returned to the park, same path, same time, same lunchbox swinging by his side. But this time, something felt different. He wasn't sure what made him walk a little faster, or why his hands were clutched tighter around the handle. Maybe it was the way the bench had felt less lonely yesterday. Maybe it was the silence they'd shared, or the look in the man's eyes, like he hadn't been seen in years. As he rounded the bend, his heart skipped. He was there, the man, still in the same hoodie, still hunched over. Only now he was sitting on the far end of the bench, the side Liam usually sat on. Liam paused. The man looked up this time. His eyes weren't as red. His posture wasn't as slouched. He looked tired, yes, but not empty. Liam took a few steps forward, opened his lunchbox, and sat beside him without a word. This time he didn't offer half. He offered all. 2 triangle-cut peanut butter sandwiches, carefully stacked in wax paper. "I made extra," Liam said casually. "Well, my mom did, but I told her I was really hungry today." The man stared at the sandwich again, not in confusion, but almost in disbelief. Then quietly, he took one triangle and held it with both hands. He studied it like it was something sacred. Then slowly he took a bite. Liam didn't look at him while he chewed. He just swung his legs beneath the bench and watched a squirrel dart through the grass. After a long pause, the man's voice broke through. "Thank you." It wasn't loud. It wasn't confident, but it was something. Liam turned and smiled. "You're welcome." They sat there for a while, just the two of them. The sounds of the city surrounded them. Dogs barking, distant horns, wind rustling through trees. But their little bench felt like a different world. Liam unzipped the side of his lunchbox and pulled out a juice box. "You want grape or apple?" he asked. The man blinked. "You brought juice for me?" Liam shrugged. "Well, I guessed." The man chuckled, just barely. "Grape," he said, surprising even himself. Liam handed it over, and that's how it began. Not with a handshake, not with a name, but with half a sandwich, a grape juice box, and a boy who didn't ask questions. Because sometimes the smallest things say the most. For a while they just sat. No words, no awkward small talk, just the quiet, steady rhythm of two people chewing. The man, still a stranger to Liam, ate slowly, like someone who wasn't just hungry but cautious. Each bite was measured, almost reverent, as though he didn't quite trust the sandwich was real, or that he deserved it. Liam didn't interrupt. He took small bites from his own triangle, swinging his feet back and forth, occasionally watching leaves tumble across the pavement. Every now and then he'd glance over, not to stare, but to check if the man needed anything. The man noticed. He wasn't used to being noticed, not without judgment, not without expectation. He shifted slightly, resting the sandwich in his lap, and finally took a sip of the grape juice. It made his face twitch, too sweet, too cold, but he didn't complain. Liam finished his sandwich, wiped his fingers on the napkin, and leaned back on the bench like a grown-up. "This is the best part," he said, tilting his head toward the trees. "Right after lunch, when everything's still and quiet." The man nodded. It was the first time Liam had seen him move gently without tension. "I used to sit here with my dad," Liam continued, "before he got sick." The man didn't respond, but he listened. "My dad would always share his food with anyone who looked hungry, even if he didn't have much. He'd say, 'You never lose when you're kind, Liam.'" He smiled faintly. "I guess that's why I gave you the sandwich." The man looked down, eyes clouded. He hadn't meant to tear up, but there it was, the sting in his chest, the tightness in his throat, the heaviness behind his eyes. He took a deep breath and whispered, "Your dad sounds like a good man." "He was," Liam said softly. "Do you miss someone too?" The man froze, then gave the faintest nod. Liam didn't push. The silence returned, but it wasn't empty this time. It was full of unspoken stories, full of grief neither of them could name, full of a strange, quiet comfort that neither fully understood, but both felt. They didn't know it yet, but in that silence, something was beginning to heal. Not just hunger, but heartbreak. And as the wind blew gently through the trees and the city noises faded behind them, the boy and the billionaire shared the most important thing they had in common: the ache of loss, and the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, they weren't as alone as they thought. Liam arrived at the park early the next day, earlier than usual. The lunchbox in his hand felt heavier, though it wasn't. His mom had packed the usual: 2 triangle peanut butter sandwiches, apple slices, a juice box, and a pack of crackers. But today, Liam had added something of his own: a chocolate chip cookie. The last one in the tin. He'd thought about it all morning. The man had finally spoken yesterday. Not much, but enough to show Liam that he wasn't invisible. That meant something. So Liam figured maybe today he'd smile. Maybe he'd say his name. Maybe the cookie would help. But when he turned the final corner toward the bench, it was empty. The space under the oak tree looked colder somehow, more exposed, like it had forgotten how to shelter someone. Liam stood there for a while, unsure what to do. He walked to the bench and sat down slowly, setting his lunchbox beside him. The wind tugged at his sleeves. Leaves danced across the sidewalk. A jogger passed by. A man with a briefcase. A woman walking a dog. But none of them were him. The man was gone. Liam's legs dangled over the side of the bench, still swinging but slower. His eyes kept scanning the path ahead just in case. Just one glimpse of the gray hoodie. Just a shadow, anything. But nothing came. He opened his lunchbox and took out both sandwich halves. then paused. He set one on the bench beside him, right where the man usually sat, wrapped in wax paper, neatly folded, just in case. He munched quietly on his half, keeping his eyes forward. Every now and then, a car door slammed or a twig snapped, and he'd turn his head quickly, heart fluttering, only to be disappointed again. He took out the cookie, looked at it, broke it in half, set one piece beside the sandwich. He didn't know why, but he whispered, "In case you come back." The breeze picked up. It tugged at the edge of the wax paper, trying to lift it. Liam pressed it down gently. "Please come back," he said softly, his voice barely audible. "I saved you the cookie." He didn't cry, but his chest felt heavy. He sat a while longer, until the sun started slipping behind the trees. Finally, he picked up the untouched sandwich and cookie half. He didn't eat them. He closed his lunchbox quietly, like he was trying not to wake someone sleeping beside him. Then he stood, looked around one last time, and whispered into the air, "See you tomorrow, Mr. Hoodie." And with that, the boy walked away, his steps slower, his shoulders lower, and the wind brushing behind him like a goodbye he didn't want to hear. The next day, Liam didn't bring just lunch. He brought hope. He had begged his mom to make an extra sandwich, just in case. "What if someone's hungry again?" he'd said. She smiled, not asking questions, and packed two, along with a small note that read, "Be kind. Be brave, be you." Liam held his lunchbox tightly as he rushed through the park, heart thumping in time with his feet. He turned the corner and froze. The bench wasn't empty anymore. There he was, Mr. Hoodie. Same torn jeans, same weathered hoodie. But he looked different, a little more upright, a little less lost. He wasn't hunched in despair today. Instead, he was staring straight ahead like he was waiting. Liam grinned and ran to the bench, plopping down beside him. "I saved your seat," he said breathlessly. The man turned to him, and for the first time smiled, just a little. "You came back," Liam added, opening his lunchbox. "I was kind of worried you wouldn't." "I almost didn't," the man said, voice soft, gravelly. Liam handed him one of the sandwiches. "But you did. That's what matters." They sat side by side again, eating in that same quiet rhythm. But this time it was different. The silence didn't feel heavy. It felt familiar. After a few bites, Liam looked up and tilted his head. "So, what's your name?" The man hesitated. His grip tightened around the sandwich. His jaw flexed. "Why do you want to know?" Liam shrugged. "I don't know. Everyone has a name. Even my fish had one before it died." The man chuckled faintly, taken off guard. "What was your fish's name?" "Sir Bubbles," Liam said proudly. Another quiet laugh. It was the first real sound of joy the man had made. "I guess I just don't want to keep calling you Mr. Hoodie in my head," Liam added. The man looked at him, something softening in his face. "You been calling me that?" "Well, yeah," Liam said. "I needed something to call you. I think it suits you." The man shook his head, a full smile tugging at the corners of his mouth now. "You gave me a name?" Liam smiled. "Do you like it?" "It's better than anything I've heard in a while." Liam held out his hand. "I'm Liam." The man looked at the small, outstretched hand, sticky from the cookie he'd eaten, and took it slowly. "Nice to meet you, Liam." "So, what's your name?" the boy asked again. The man stared at him, a long pause. Then he said quietly, "You can keep calling me Mr. Hoodie. For now." Liam giggled. "Fine, but one day I'm going to find out." "I bet you will," the man replied, not realizing he meant it. They sat for a little longer, trading bites and stories. Liam told him about Sir Bubbles, about how his teacher says peanut butter isn't technically lunch, and how he sometimes talks to trees when no one else is around. The man listened, really listened. He hadn't done that in a long time, and he hadn't been listened to in even longer. When Liam finally stood to leave, he waved and said, "See you tomorrow, Mr. Hoodie." The man raised a hand in return. As the boy disappeared down the path, the man whispered, almost too soft for even himself to hear, "My name is Daniel." But he wasn't ready to share that yet. Not just yet, for days after the name game. Liam and Mr. Hoodie, Daniel, fell into a quiet rhythm. Every afternoon after school, Liam came to the bench with 2 sandwiches, 1 cookie and a story to tell. Sometimes he talked about school, or about how he was sure the school janitor was a superhero in disguise. Sometimes he'd just sit and share his food, letting the silence speak louder than any words. And Mr. Hoodie? He listened every day. He sat up a little straighter. His beard grew out just enough to cover the sharp lines of his jaw, and his sunken eyes slowly started to hold light again, though it flickered like a candle at first. But Liam didn't know that each afternoon, after the boy left, Daniel would sit alone on the bench and watch the sunlight vanish behind the trees, remembering his son, Tyler. Same age, same laugh, same way of talking with his hands and asking way too many questions. Tyler had loved peanut butter too. He'd once called it hero fuel. Daniel had built an empire, a billion-dollar tech company, the kind people talked about on the news. But when Tyler died, when his everything collapsed, Daniel walked away, disappeared. Not even his staff knew where he went. Until now, because now someone else had found him, and someone else had started watching. It happened subtly at first. A black SUV parked just off the curb. A man in a long coat walking his dog, though the leash was always slack and the dog never barked. A woman pretending to read a newspaper 3 benches away, but the paper never turned. Liam didn't notice any of it, but Daniel did. And on this particular day, Daniel came to the bench earlier than Liam. He sat with a paper cup of coffee, his first in months, and stared at the trees, trying to pretend he didn't feel the eyes on him. When Liam appeared, bouncing down the path with his usual blue lunchbox, Daniel forced a smile. "You're early," Liam said, plopping down beside him. "Wanted to see the squirrels fight over breadcrumbs," Daniel replied. "It's better than TV," Liam giggled. "You're weird." Daniel nodded. "I know. They ate, they talked, they laughed." But Daniel couldn't stop glancing toward the SUV. Then it happened. Liam looked up suddenly and said, "Hey, that guy's been here 3 days in a row." Daniel froze. Liam pointed. "The one with the sunglasses. He's not even walking his dog. He just stands there." Daniel swallowed hard. "Probably just a jogger taking breaks," he said quickly. But Liam wasn't buying it. "He's weird." Daniel leaned in, lowering his voice. "Promise me something. Okay, if anyone ever asks you questions about me, just tell them I'm your friend. Nothing more, okay?" Liam looked confused but nodded. "Like a secret?" Daniel forced a smile. "Exactly." Liam leaned in and whispered, "Are you a superhero?" Daniel laughed quietly. "Not even close." That night after Liam left, Daniel walked past the SUV, pulled down his hood, and stared straight at the man in sunglasses. "Tell them I'm not ready." The man nodded. "They're worried. You've been gone 6 months." "I'm not ready," Daniel repeated, voice firm. "Understood." As the SUV pulled away, Daniel turned back toward the bench, still warm from the sunlight, and sighed. He had disappeared from the world. But somehow a boy with a lunchbox had found him again. And deep down, Daniel knew. The world would find out soon, too. It started with a photo. A blurry image of Daniel, still wearing his hoodie, still slouched on the old green bench, taken from behind a bush. A small boy sat next to him, blue lunchbox on his lap, mid-bite of a sandwich. At first it showed up on a small blog. "Is this billionaire Daniel Cross? Mysterious man spotted in Westbrook Park." No one paid attention. Then another photo emerged, clearer this time. Daniel walking alone, hood down. Same face once seen on Forbes covers, now weathered with grief. And this time, someone connected the dots. Daniel Cross, billionaire founder of Cross Tech, widowed, father of the late Tyler. Cross, missing since his son's death. The story exploded overnight. By morning, every major outlet had it. Missing billionaire found living among the homeless. Grieving tycoon spotted, sharing a bench with unknown child. Has Daniel Cross abandoned his empire for good? Reporters swarmed the park. Cameras lined the paths. Microphones shoved toward strangers. "Have you seen him? Do you know the boy in the photo? Is this the real Daniel Cross?" Liam didn't understand what was happening. That morning, when he walked to the park with his usual lunchbox, his steps slowed. There were vans, tripods, boom mics, and people. So many people. He clutched his lunchbox tighter and looked toward the bench, but it was empty. "Mr. Hoodie?" he whispered. Nothing. A woman with a press badge approached. "Hey, sweetheart, do you come here often?" Liam backed away. A man crouched in front of him with a camera. "Are you the boy from the photos?" Liam ran. He sprinted out of the park, lunchbox bouncing against his leg, heart pounding. He didn't stop until he reached the alley behind the library. He crouched behind a dumpster, gasping. And then he cried. He didn't know what he'd done wrong. He didn't understand why everyone suddenly cared. He just wanted to share lunch with his friend. Meanwhile, Daniel watched the chaos from a distance. He was standing on the rooftop of a nearby building, hood down, face solemn. He had expected this, but he hadn't expected how much it would hurt to see Liam afraid. He made a call. "Pull every story you can. Every photo. Every clip. Pay what you have to. I don't care." The voice on the other end replied, "Sir, it's gone too viral." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Then I'll speak. Just once." The next day, a single video appeared on his company's official page. A simple shot. Daniel Cross, sitting in front of a plain grey wall. No suit, no branding, just a man. He looked into the camera and said, "Yes, that's me. My name is Daniel Cross. I disappeared after losing my son, because I forgot how to live. But someone reminded me how to feel again. A little boy with a sandwich, and a heart big enough to feed a stranger." He took a breath, eyes wet. "And what I do with my grief, and with my heart, is no one's business but mine. Please leave the boy alone. Let him have his peace." He didn't save a billionaire. He saved a broken man. Then the screen faded to black. That night, the park was quiet again. No cameras, no microphones, just the sound of wind rustling through the trees. And on the bench, wrapped in a napkin, was a note and a sandwich. Liam found it the next morning. The note read, "Still here. Just further back now, when you're ready. Mr. Hoodie." And with a deep breath and a slow, shy smile, Liam sat down. He opened his lunchbox and waited. The park was quiet again. The cameras had left. The microphones, the vans, the questions, gone. The world had moved on to the next headline. But the boy hadn't. Liam still came to the bench every day. Same blue lunchbox, same hopeful eyes, same seat under the oak tree. And sometimes there was a sandwich waiting. Other times, a folded napkin with a joke scribbled in slanted handwriting. Once there was a tiny figurine of a rocket, just like the one on Liam's lunchbox, for the space explorer who brought me back to Earth. Signed MH, Mr. Hoodie. But weeks passed, and still no Daniel, until one Tuesday afternoon. Liam had just unwrapped his sandwich when a shadow fell across the bench. He looked up. There he was, Mr. Hoodie, but different. His beard was trimmed, his hoodie replaced by a dark coat. His eyes, though tired, had clarity. And behind him, a sleek black car waited at the curb. "Hey," he said softly. Liam stared, mouth slightly open. "You look like a boss now," he whispered. Daniel chuckled. "I had to be one again." Liam's voice dropped. "You're really him, aren't you?" Daniel paused. "Yeah," he said. "My name is Daniel Cross. I run Crosstech." Liam blinked. "Like the phones and drones and those electric skateboards?" Daniel nodded slowly. Liam looked down. "So, you lied to me." Daniel sat beside him. "I didn't lie," he said gently. "I just didn't tell you everything, because I didn't want you to see that version of me. I wanted you to see the part of me I'd forgotten." "You mean the sad one?" Liam asked. Daniel laughed softly. "The real one." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Liam pulled something out of his lunchbox. The broken half of a cookie, slightly crumbled, saved from days ago. "I kept this," he said, holding it out. "I didn't know if you'd come back. But I thought maybe you'd want it." Daniel took it, slowly, reverently, as if Liam had handed him a treasure. "Thank you," he whispered. Then Liam asked, "Do you miss your son?" Daniel's face tightened. "I do," he said. "Every single day." Liam nodded. "I miss my dad too." They sat with that pain together, two people from opposite worlds, connected by something deeper than wealth or age, grief, and the quiet understanding that some losses never fully heal. Only now they didn't have to carry it alone. Later that evening, Daniel stepped into his penthouse for the first time in months. The marble floors, the skyline view, the silent grandeur, it all felt hollow. He walked to his office, opened a drawer, and pulled out a photo. Tyler, age 8, holding a peanut butter sandwich, mid-laugh. He placed the broken cookie beside it, then sat at his desk, pulled out a piece of paper, and began to write something new. The Liam Initiative, nourishing the hungry, honoring the kind. Meanwhile, back at the bench, Liam found another note under the napkin. "You didn't just feed me, Liam. You reminded me what it means to be a father, D." And Liam smiled, because he finally knew his friend's name. And more importantly, he knew that he had changed something, someone, forever. The days turned into weeks. The world went back to spinning. But something had changed, quietly, beautifully, in the lives of two people who once shared a sandwich under an oak tree. Liam still went to school, still packed his blue lunchbox, and still told his mum half-truths about why he always stopped at the park. But there was something new in his step, a confidence, a lightness, the kind you get when someone makes you feel like your kindness mattered. And Daniel Cross had come back, not just to the boardroom, not just to the press, but to himself. He'd rebuilt Crosstech from the inside out, with new policies, new leadership, and a new heart. The cold, sharp empire he once ruled now had something else at its center, purpose. And it all started with a boy and a sandwich. On a warm Saturday afternoon, Liam and his mother walked hand in hand down a freshly painted sidewalk. They turned a corner into a brand new plaza. In the city's west side, once forgotten, now transformed. There was a stage, a banner, and a sign that read, "The Liam Initiative, because every small kindness changes everything." Liam blinked up at it, confused. "Wait, Liam like me?" His mother looked down, stunned. "Baby, is that your name?" Before he could answer, a voice rang from the stage. Deep, steady, familiar. "Ladies and gentlemen," said Daniel Cross, dressed in a simple grey suit, no tie, eyes locked on the crowd. "I'm here today not as a CEO, but as someone who was saved by a stranger." He paused. "A stranger who gave me half of his lunch. And with it, hope." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel smiled and looked toward Liam. "And that boy is standing right over there." Hundreds of heads turned. Liam froze. Then Daniel did something no one expected. He stepped down from the stage, walked into the crowd, and knelt in front of Liam. "I never said thank you," he said. Liam blinked. "You're doing all this because of me?" Daniel nodded. "Because you reminded me that the smallest acts of kindness are the ones that save lives." The ceremony was beautiful. Daniel unveiled a new park bench in Liam's honor, right beneath a planted tree. A plaque on the back read, "To the boy who shared his lunch and fed a soul instead." They sat there together afterward, side by side, just like the first time. Only now there were no secrets, no hoodie, no fear, just a billionaire and a boy and a lunchbox between them. Daniel pulled something from his coat pocket. A brand new lunchbox, blue with rockets, just like Liam's. He handed it over. "This one's for when yours gets too full of stories." Liam grinned. "Will we still eat here sometimes?" Daniel smiled. "Every Saturday. Same bench. Your turn to bring the juice." They laughed, and as the sun dipped behind the buildings, and the first kids arrived at the food program nearby, Liam and Daniel shared a peanut butter sandwich at a new table built, not with wealth, but with warmth. He thought he was feeding a poor man, but he ended up feeding a broken heart. And that one lunchbox changed everything.